Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-free review for Under the Banner of Heaven. Hey everyone, my name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-free review for Under the Banner of Heaven, episodes 1 to 5. Special thanks, as always, to our friends at Disney Plus Canada for giving us the opportunity to watch these episodes early for review. Before we get started, if you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast focusing on the world of movies, TV shows, games, toys, and collectibles, and all things geek-centric. Joining me for this review is my partner in crime investigation, Justin Lawrence.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, I'm feeling the weight of this series, of this show a little bit. A little tired, even. You might even say.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Feels a little drawn out. Yeah.
We'll get into it. But before we get this review underway, let me share a description for this show for those who are unaware. Under the Banner of Heaven is an original limited series that follows the events that led to the 1984 murder of Brenda Wright Lafferty and her baby daughter in a suburb in the Salt Lake Valley, Utah area. As Detective Jeb Pyrie investigates events that transpired within the Lafferty family, he uncovers buried truths about the origins of the LDS religion and the violent consequences of unyielding faith. What Pyrie, a devout Mormon, unearths leads him to question his own faith. The show stars Andrew Garfield, Sam Worthington, Daisy Edgar-Jones, Denise Goff, Wyatt Russell, Billy Howell, Gil Birmingham, Rory Culkin, Chloe Puri, Adelaide Clemens, and Christopher Heyerdahl. This is a mini-series that was created by Dustin Lance Black and adapted from the original true crime bestseller of the same name, written by John Krakauer, and it's currently streaming from FX on Star on Disney Plus here in Canada. So a lot of people, behind the scenes working on this show. Justin, let's get right into it. As I said, I think, I felt a little bit tired coming off the show. I want to say straight up, I did fall asleep trying to watch the first episode of this series. To be fair, I was a little bit jet-lagged, but I still think, I've watched true crime stories in the past, and I would like to think even if they're not as sort of dramatized for TV as maybe I'm used to, I did think there would have been enough of a hook to kind of at least keep me awake throughout the first episode. Yeah. I don't know. What were your kind of initial thoughts of the first episode?
Well, the first episode, it was a bit slow in terms of setting things up.
Yeah.
I think right off the bat, the grotesque nature of the murder is kind of the shocker of the entire episode. And I'm going to draw a lot of parallels between this show and another show that I like that is that we referenced when we were talking about the trailer several This Week in Geek episodes ago. Yeah. But True Detective season 1 also has similar themes with a very religious, ritual, tribal sort of connotation to the events of the murder. Now, of course, after the first episode, as we get through the rest of this series of Under the Banner, it's clear that it's less of a whodunit and more of a why done it.
Sure.
If that makes that make sense?
Yeah, we see Andrew Garfield's character, Detective Jeb Pyrie, kind of at no point in time is there really, it's very quickly established sort of who's the group of people that we're looking at. And then slowly but surely we start to sort of pick apart and sort of understand what were the events that transpired. And it's cool the way they sort of, he works with different family members to sort of unearth this story. And we get to see, Daisy Edgar-Jones' character sort of living through that. And we see her sort of start to almost break down what she's gotten herself into as the episodes go on. And I think it's cool that they're telling these sort of multiple stories at a time, but it just, I'll just keep bringing it up. It just takes so damn long to get to moment to moment.
But I think the problem is that it relies too much on the outside stories. There's so many different layers to this story, and over the course of different periods of time that help kind of influence and are kind of the backbone as to the reasoning as to why, again, the why of this murder, and it loses itself in trying to really kind of enrich the background rather than focusing on the present. Because what I loved about True Detective is that it was very much focused on the present. Like, there are things that happen in people's past and things that we learn about. We're never taken out of the present. That being said, it is interesting how in some cases they weave these moments through, interesting editing styles, right? Like just kind of inserting them in very specific moments, and it might just be flashes or glimpses. And that I appreciated more than just taking us out and then saying, okay, let's just focus on this portion of the story. So I think it was a little all over the map, which I think, again, it's that slow burn. It's not really helping the situation. It's just elongating it longer than it needs to. Because even I think when we were talking offline, you had mentioned, like, what you learn at the end of an episode, it shouldn't have taken that long to get to that thing, right?
Yeah, so. And I mean, whenever we bring up flashbacks, I think of the best flashback show in the world, Lost, and and I just find that, like, whenever I would watch an episode of Lost, or even other just shows that do feature flashback moments, there was never a point in time where I was like, okay, this is interesting. I really want to get back to the present day with those shows. Whereas with this one, like you said, there were so many moments where I was like, no, don't go away from, that's really interesting what's happening right now in our present day with Andrew Garfield. Don't go away from that. Let's stick with this for a little bit longer. I feel like the balance is really off. But I will say, and this is a credit to the cast in this show, the cast is fantastic. I think the performances are phenomenal. Andrew Garfield gives a very believable performance as Detective Jeb Pyrie, and you can really see in the writing, but also just in his acting, like in his face, like the moments that hit him, and that you can literally see his Mormonism, his religion being challenged just through his physicality. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think the whole reason to check out this show is for the cast, and it's not just Andrew Garfield. It is Sam Worthington. It's Daisy Edgar-Jones. It's Wyatt Russell.
Oh my gosh.
It's Billy Howie. It's Detective Pyrie's partner, Bill Taba.
Yeah, played by Gil Birmingham.
He's so great. Like, he's so good, and like to see their dynamic is so interesting. And again, that's why I wish that this series just stayed focused on the case and on them. Like, really, if you're gonna try to emulate a True Detective style, just stick with what really made the story great is the murder mystery, plus these two cops that I think are learning about each other as they go through this case. It's really refreshing. So again, I think we're deviating so much from the main interesting part of the story to just kind of give it more detail, when I feel like it's all there already, and it's in the performances that we get. It's really, really well done. So that in itself is a big plus. I think, to have someone like Wyatt Russell play the kind of character he's playing here, he's so great. He's
such an incredible antagonist on the show, and I think the best part about him and the characters so far that I've seen him play, we also saw him recently in Captain America and or Falcon and Winter Soldier, and he's even more sinister, and he's this character that is so cringeworthy. You're so freaked out by the things he says, and you just can't take your eyes off of him. You know what I mean? It's really freaky, and it's you're constantly in fear of what he's going to do next. I thought Daisy Edgar-Jones, like you said, is a standout in the show. She's so instantly likable, and you're rooting for her so much. And I like the way that they sort of play back and forth between Pyrie and between like her character of Brenda. And I don't know, man. I just think this cast there's too many moments of them just standing and talking, and not enough moments of them getting to the right places. And don't get me wrong, like the stuff that they're talking about is super interesting. I think a lot of religions when they're depicted on TV, do the same thing that this one is doing, where it sort of focuses on like the darkest parts of that religion. And
Right.
I have friends who are of the Mormon faith, and they're absolutely very similar to Andrew Garfield's character and his family, and nothing like the FLDS, who are the fundamentalists that we start to sort of learn more and more about in the series. And I think it's just really, again, it's super intriguing, but it's just like it takes so long to get from the big moments from moment to moment that I kept losing sort of, I don't know,
Steam.
interest. I kept sort of falling off of it.
You're losing steam.
Yeah.
I think for me, like I said off the top, I think it was how it shifted from a whodunit to why.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that was kind of the mystery. Why was this murder so horrific? Why was she targeted? So, again, that's still the hook. Like we only got the first 5 episodes, and this series was already released in the States on Hulu.
Yeah.
So it's a bit delayed here. But the first 5, absolutely, you lose steam. You're losing attention, and also there's just no tension in these episodes. It is, as you said, it is about learning about the information that led to these events. So it's a lot of exposition.
Yeah.
It's a lot of heavy-handed material. It's a lot of people just sitting in interrogation rooms explaining,
Telling a story. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or explaining to Detective Priory and Detective Taba, like, the events of Mormonism and the evolution of it, or having like these thoughtful religious belief conversations, which again are somewhat interesting, but they just distract. It's crazy. Do you know what I mean? So I thought this was a mini series, so I imagine that this would have been 4 to 5 episodes.
Yeah, but it's 7 in total. Yeah.
It's 7, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm thinking like, this could have probably been told in less time.
Yeah. Either shorter episodes or 5 episodes in total. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's just, I don't know. I don't know if I would want to, like, I definitely want to stick it through and see what happens in the end, but I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gone through 5 episodes. If we've only got 2 more to go, I'm definitely going to check them out. I'll probably wait till they both drop on Disney Plus here in Canada, and then I'll watch them. But that being said, though, I think you bring up an interesting point with the focus on Mormon religion and just sort of showing the 2 sides. The very dark, as it's referred to in this series, the fundamentalist sides, the traditionalists, or they're very, it's a very tribal, very old school in terms of like how they're looking at it. And then you have Detective Pyries, played by Andrew Garfield, his perception of the religion, the more common, obviously the more accurate of what, like your friend's family and where, would be of. And I think it's interesting how his character is sort of, I think, challenged in this whole case and in this whole series to kind of take a look at his own beliefs.
Yeah.
And what that really does look like. And I think the whole idea, I think you said it best offline, the whole mentality around the fundamentalist side is sort of a selfishness that is depicted in this.
Oh yeah.
In these characters that are fundamentalists, the idea that they're hearing the voice of God, and I use that with air quotes, or the heavenly Lord as they say, but it's really just them justifying that means
their actions. Yeah.
I think that their actions, they're justifying their actions, exactly. So I think that there's some interesting thematic things that are at play here that make it, because religion is something that is obviously so tangible in society, it does add that sort of creepiness to it. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense, because it is something that is so prevalent in culture and in society, all religions, because all religions probably have these 2 opposing sides of a fundamentalist and a more
absolutely
New Age,
Old Testament, New Testament. I mean, it's the aspect of, I think it's the moments where, and I think the show does a great job of exploring this, of whenever you've felt like you've sort of reached an area where, maybe you've gone to that part of your church or your synagogue or your mosque or what have you, where, you're like, well, wait, why can't I learn more about this? Why are you stopping me from learning more about this specific aspect of my beliefs? And that's what this show, that's the most interesting thing
Right.
in this show is when we sort of hit that level of oh, okay, there's levels to this that Detective Pyrie doesn't understand, and his family doesn't understand, and I think that's the most interesting aspect about it. And again, the show sort of starts to teeter on that. I get it. I get that we need like a slow burn, but this is one of the slowest burns I've ever experienced in a show, and for it to be a miniseries, I don't know, man. It's like, kind of get to the point. Let's go. I'm interested enough in these characters, and the performances are so good, but needs to get going.
For sure. And I again, True Detective season 1 is a slow burn, but it's an enjoyable slow burn.
Right.
Things are fed to you. The mystery is drawn out to a point of enjoyment. You know what I mean? So that when you get to that final episode, when everything is being revealed or the resolution is about to happen, it feels earned.
Yeah.
But we're so all over the place in this series that when we get to that finale and that sort of closure to this case, I'm hoping it at least feels earned, because at this point right now, I'm just kind of, I'm only really focused on one layer of this story. All the other layers that are there, it's just more fuel to kind of justify why this happened.
And I think there's almost a sense of realism that they didn't need to add to the show, which is that we do get to see, at least for Detective Pyrie, not so much for Bill, but for Detective Pyrie, we get to see his life outside of his job. And there's a lot of moments there's like at least 4 moments that I can think of where his partner would just be like, go home, get some rest, go to sleep. And that's usually that's where we cut to commercial in most shows, right? Like we don't normally get to see that. And I appreciate them trying to build in this sense, but it's too much. It's unneeded. And again, it slows things down. So let's get to our final thoughts. We're going to be rating this on a scale of 1 to 5. Justin, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, I think, most of what I've said throughout this episode is how I feel. I think, very much like Spiderhead, which we talked about, kind of, there's so many other genre style movies that do Spiderhead better than Spiderhead does.
Right.
And I feel like this is very much
similar,
the same case here with Under the Banner. It's that there's so many different, murder mystery shows that have done this sort of thing, and they're doing it better. I appreciate the fact that they're trying to do something different by giving you a full rounded, picture to basically get you to that understanding as to why this murder had happened. That being said, at times it feels very much focused on like the events of the past. Too much talking, not enough tension. I think this really just comes down to poor execution. But the cast is absolutely fantastic. The cast is the whole reason to check out this show. Andrew Garfield is again proving that he is top notch. Wyatt Russell is creepy and weird. Sam Worthington is dark and mysterious, and I'm actually scared of him when he doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And Gil Birmingham is absolutely charming, and I love seeing him and Andrew Garfield play off of one another.
Yeah.
Daisy Edgar-Jones is charming and very sweet, and I even really love Chloe Pree. She's plays Matilda Lafferty.
Yeah.
She's Irish. Absolutely, like just how haunted she is by some of the things that happen.
Yeah.
This is enough of a reason to really check out this show and see what it's all about. 3 episodes are out right now for you to enjoy, so I would definitely check it out, see what you think. But I'm going to give this series a 3.5 out of 5. And that's really because of the performances. Because if the performances were kind of phoned in, I think I'd probably be leaning closer to a 3. But,
yeah, man. I completely feel the same way. I think it gets better by the 4th and 5th episode. So I might even go so far as to say, like, watch the first 4 episodes, and then if you're kind of thinking, then maybe you don't have to stick with it.
That's a good call. Yeah.
I feel like so many people won't stick with it long enough, though, to get to that point, because it is so heavy. It's so slow. I feel like it's going to cause people to fall off the show, which, again, has such an interesting plot, and it dives into the darkest parts of what is a true story, which is kind of the scariest part of the show. But I just feel like I don't know, man. Like you said, without the performances, I wouldn't quite be there for this show. I think they're the highlight. You know, we get so many standout moments from the cast, especially Andrew, Daisy Edgar-Jones, Wyatt Russell. But the amount of time it takes to get from one standout moment to the other is just too long. And the show felt like it was falling under its own weight at times. Just there's so much that it's trying to tell you at any given time that it just felt, again, not just heavy because of the content or the subject matter, but heavy because of the amount of information that you sort of are trying to take in all at once. I'm invested enough to see where the story goes, so I definitely am going to want to watch the last 2 episodes. But, you know, if this wasn't a mini-series or a limited series, like if they said there was a season 2 coming, I don't think I would come back. I don't think I would come back to it to go further than what they give us. Unless if they are doing more episodes of this, if the last episode is so intriguing, but I don't know, they'd have to do quite a bit to get me invested for another season. So I'm also going to give this a 3.5 out of 5. And again, it's that cast, dude. Check this out for the cast. That's it. We hope you enjoyed this spoiler-free review for Under the Banner of Heaven. And if you did, make sure to subscribe to us wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And if you want to write into the show with your thoughts on any of the shows we cover, Justin, why don't you let us know how they can reach us?
Well, they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or they can reach out to us on Twitter at GeekcentricYT or on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Keep in mind, we have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies, TV shows, games, including our spoiler-free review for Disney and Pixar's Lightyear, which is a lot more of a happy thing to get into than this show. We also have our interviews with Lightyear director Angus MacLean, producer Galen Sussman, and composer Michael Giacchino up right now, as well as our interview with Miss Marvel directors Adil and Bilal, who directed episodes 1 and 6 of that show. And we have our watch clubs for both Miss Marvel and Obi-Wan well underway, with new episodes breaking down every single moment, filled with speculation. So if you're into the whole sort of book club mentality and you want to, enjoy a lovely conversation between us geeks after seeing each episode, be sure to check those out. You can even go back and listen to what we maybe didn't get right with our theories. And finally, we have our This Week in Geek episodes every single Wednesday. Our last episode was all about Star Wars Celebration. Darcy and I spoke with Justin and even talked about some of our experiences that we had that are literally the trailers and footage that we saw are not even out yet. So if you're a huge Star Wars fan, that is such a good episode to listen to. Definitely check that out. So yeah, go give those episodes a listen. Leave a 5-star if you don't mind. Justin, thank you so much for joining me for this review. And as we say, love ya.
Peace.